it was brought to my attention. I worked at the theater in Detroit. I sold tickets and was a projectionist. And James Baldwin came to the theater in 1980, and he started talking about it. He said, it's exhausting, and I don't know if I can stand watching it, but I couldn't take my eyes off of it. And I thought, I have to find this movie. And just sitting right up there in that second row, I had the same reaction. I couldn't be that close to the screen. I had to go stand in the back to watch it because he's such a towering presence.
You know, it probably taught me two things. One, the power of allowing someone to present themselves before a camera, and also that talking heads aren't necessarily a pejorative. You know, that they can be used artfully and cinematically.
I mean, it really is uncategorizable. There are documentary moments, I think, but then there are moments that are just that just feel real, and it strikes me that it's very much of its time. When it came out in the late '60s, it was all about being real. It was Cassavetes and method acting and the beats, and there was this real premium on authenticity, and it felt like that's also what it was about.
Tonight I was thinking of why did Bergman find this the most fascinating film, and I was thinking of Cries and Whispers, the death scene where she's crying out loud and it's almost unbearable to watch. And some of Portrait of Jason is so raw and so emotional and so just real, and whether it is or not is just adding another layer to it.
I worked with Shirley as her assistant editing it, and stopped working with her before the film was done, and she made changes to the film afterwards. So when I saw the film, I actually didn't totally remember it. And the part that I remembered, which is Shirley's monologue where she attacks Jason, wasn't in it, and she must have taken it out.
You guys, you were saying, I just asked you about your memory of seeing it for the first time. You can talk a little bit more about that.
I was in my early 20s and just coming out, and it freaked me out. You know, it was a cautionary tale, and it was, you know, that's what I don't want to end up as. I mean, that's all I could see, in my early 20s.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen that kind of exercise of will on screen before. And one of the things I was thinking about just watching it again on the big screen is just the connection to black jazz, hearing Miles Davis mentioned, and Carmen McRae and Willie Bobo. I mean, I feel like, I guess I never thought of him as being marginal. I just thought he sort of lived in the black underground, and which is an interesting thing to see because I have friends just talking with me about this who've seen this movie and have a really hard time watching it because the whole idea of it being a black man being victimized on screen, but I feel like he's fighting back in some way. And again, it's this enormous exercise of will. I mean, he's crying, but he's not crying, and he's drinking and he's doing drugs, and he's basically the last man standing at the party in a weird way, isn't he?
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing also plays as a power struggle. You know, who's gonna control, you know, what the film becomes.
An editing cut should not discombobulate, which was her word, the audience, which means it shouldn't upset you visually and throw you out of your position or your experience of watching the film. And I think that's why she, in the end, used this technique with the out of focus, some of which I think were camera problems.
But my favorite Shirley moment was we were at the Amsterdam airport. And this was the early days of airport security, so there was a conveyor belt for an X-ray machine for carry-on baggage. And we were, I can't remember where we were going, but we were hanging out together for a few days. And she put her camera bag on the conveyor belt, and it was about to go through the X-ray machine, and she realized that she had film in the camera, and she jumped on the conveyor belt and tried to pull out the camera bag, and it was really like an I Love Lucy episode. And she had that aspect to her personality, which was, there was a whole kind of Lucy-esque side to her.
She wanted to talk about cinema verite and how it only shows you the exciting parts and takes out the boring parts. She kept some of this in to make it more real, to keep you in this. And she knew exactly. She was a dancer, first of all, and a pretty good one. We actually have found 10 seconds of her dancing in 1940 in Ektachrome. It's gorgeous.
When I look at it, yeah, there's some sadomasochism going on, I think, in the relationship. But they're all there, they're all colluding. They're all there because they want to be there. And they're, Jason is experiencing something that he wants to experience, and the filmmakers are pushing him to experience it in a more, it feels like they're pushing him to experience it in a more authentic way.